Hi there and welcome to Mind Your Own Business TV. I'm Debbie Davis. We have a great show for you today. As always, we have another candidate joining us. It's Marty Grohman. He's running for U.S. House of Representatives for District 1. Welcome to the show, Marty.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure.
It's great to have you. First question, always want to ask candidates, why are you running?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I've been putting thousands of miles on my truck, talking to thousands of voters, and what they are saying to me consistently is that they're sick of it. They're sick of the two parties just tearing each other to pieces, and while they fight, we're not getting things done. We're not taking on the out-of-control costs of health care. We're not fixing the opioid crisis that's killing a Mainer every single day, and we're certainly not shoring up Social Security and protecting Medicare. I think we just can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect to get a different result. You know, we can't keep sending partisans to Congress if we want to end partisanship. We need an independent voice that will represent Maine and not the big political parties. And I grew up on a farm. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. I milked the cows before the school bus every day and then started
Wow.
Yes, I want you to know you're looking at the cow milking champion at the Windsor Fair. All right.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. And I beat Shelley Pingree too. I want you to know that. So, I mean, anything that I've done in life and in building my manufacturing company, I did it by getting people working together, and I know that I can do that, and I know that's what we need. I think we all know what the problem is, and now it's time to fix it, and that's why I'm running for Congress.
Well, I admire your enthusiasm because Washington is not a place most people really want to hang out or be in.
Yes.
But it sounds like from your background you have lots of good qualifications to be there. You grew up in Carthage on a dairy farm.
Yeah.
So you got up early.
Yes,
We were talking before the show how early I get up, but
not as early
as
you. I know
just almost as early.
Yeah, not at 1:30 like you. So I think the routine for us was I would go out and get the cows, and we're not talking about a huge farm. We kept and still keep Jersey cows. They're the beautiful ones with the brown ones with the black noses.
Nice.
And I got my own first cow when I was 8. Her name was Hope, and she was my pet cow through 4-H and all of that. And anyway, yeah, that was the routine before the school bus, and I think that informed a lot of the way that I've worked through my life and my career, and just being you get things done by working together. You don't get the hay in the barn by saying your neighbor's a jerk or your neighbor's totally wrong, right? You gotta work together.
And you also have to do your part.
Yes,
which is clearly important.
That's true. That's well said. Yeah, you have to be in the mix. You can't be on the sidelines.
Yeah. Now you are a graduate of Gould Academy. You have a degree in chemical engineering.
Yes.
And you worked in that field, didn't you, before you opened your own business?
Yeah, I did. I went through Dirigo schools, and then I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship as a day student to Gould Academy over in Bethel, and kind of stuck to my books there and went to Rensselaer, which is over in Troy, New York. Good hockey program. Nice. And graduated with a chemical engineering degree and went into plastics. So a lot of people say plastics, my boy, from the graduate.
Yes.
And but that was a really good field for me. And I worked in Cincinnati, Charlotte, and in West Virginia. And but like a lot of Maine kids, I wanted to get back home to Maine. And in order to do that, I felt like the best opportunity for me was to start my own business. And I have to say, I was not familiar with Biddeford growing up in Western Maine. However, Biddeford was so welcoming to me and my business partner, co-founder, as we were putting the business together, that it was the easiest choice we ever made. The economic development director, Bob Dodge, wonderful, wonderful man, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but really just took these 2 young entrepreneurs with a big idea in. We found a space in the Biddeford Industrial Park and grew that business, now known as Duralife Decking, to a big success, and I'm pretty proud of that.
It makes all the difference in the world when you are trying to start a business if the area is welcoming you in, does it not?
Absolutely, yeah. And Biddeford was and still is so great about that. The business community is wonderful, right over there next to Fiber Materials and Volk Packaging and Vingtech and other Sterling Rope, great businesses like that over in the park. And we all kind of work together and help each other out when we can, you know, if it's snow plowing or anything like that, just to make everything a success. We all share the same railroad siding over there. And I do think you're right about that. That makes that community is important.
Yeah, but they got to plow Morin Street.
Well, Morin Street plowing is, I know,
not
is a
plow,
priority.
excuse me,
Pave.
pave.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Woo,
I understand.
That one is wicked.
That one is in the plan from Mayor Cassavant.
Yes,
You were right.
it is.
Yes, you were right.
Now, how did the composite decking material invention come about?
You know, I was fortunate. I was working for a company down in Cincinnati called Cincinnati Millicron, people in the machine tool world, and there are a lot of proud machinists in this area, many of whom work at Pratt & Whitney, for example. And I was doing development for Cincinnati Millicron of this specialized type of machinery that makes composite decking. The big names in the field are Trex and AZEK. And I thought, hey, I got a better idea. I know of a better way to do this, and we have lots of sawdust up in Maine, and I know there's good, hard-working people there, and I'll get to move back home. So I thought, you know, it's now or never to give this business a try. I was about 30 years old, and I thought, you know, let's pull this thing together. And made you know, a lot of early missteps, but had great supporters to help me get the thing together, and great employees too. I always want to make that point that we, you know, this proud manufacturing tradition that we have here in Maine is so much a part of our success and continues to be.
Sure. Now, were you married and have a family at the time?
I wasn't. No.
Oh, so you had a little more flexibility.
110% all in on the business. I was just at an event with Derek Volk and Volk Packaging, and I was telling him, you know, yeah, I used to cover a lot of the night shifts getting started because we were a 24/7 operation. So I used to routinely cover that Saturday night 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. So
what a great boss. Wow.
You gotta lead by example.
Now,
that's a long pole too, I gotta tell you.
Oh, I bet, I bet. Now, you have since sold the business.
I have, yeah, and it's in great ownership, and I'm proud of them and what they're doing with the business, and my co-founder has run the business extremely well and continues to run it to this day, and he's very capable, and they've taken it to even greater levels than I ever did, and I'm really, really proud of them.
That's great news. So this is important for us to talk about here and to bring to you because Marty has business experience. He has started a business from scratch. He's built it up, made it a success, sold it. It continues to be a success. So he has firsthand experience in signing the front of a check, of a paycheck that goes to you as the employee. So that's what we need more of down in Washington, just to get my little 2 cents in there.
I think you're right. I
there are
think we
too
do.
many who are not, they're blind to what it means and what it takes to actually run a business. So when they pass legislation that's going to affect business, especially small business, they have no idea what they're doing.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's not like we have an ATM in the back that spews out money, and any business owner will tell you too, as the owner, you're the one that gets paid last.
You're absolutely
so you're always
right.
taking care of your employees first, and that's where the success of the business starts.
Yep. Now, you are the host of the Grow Maine Show podcast.
Yeah, I had a great experience starting a business in Maine and learned a lot along the way. And I've always wanted to share that with others. And so I started doing a podcast about 5 years ago. And I've had 85 or so entrepreneurs on as my guests. And my current guest is Chris Claudio of WinXNet. WinXNet is an IT services firm in Portland that has about 125 people. And they just bought a company in California and are moving it here. So I think that is great. Yeah, that's what we want to see. And so, yeah, those are the kinds of people that I want to support and celebrate. So it's kind of a hobby podcast, but you can find it on iTunes, and it informs a lot of the way I think about growing businesses here in Maine.
Well, the growmainshow.com is the website for his podcast if you want to take a peek at that. You work a lot with veterans groups.
I do. When I was elected to the Maine House of Representatives in 2014 to represent Biddeford, a great honor to be elected to that position and reelected in 2016. But I've always made it a point to attend the American Legion meetings with Commander Ray Halzuk, and I just started helping out in any way that I could. I'm not a veteran myself, but I'm connected in the community, and I know all kinds of business people, and at the time the post was the budget was pretty small, and the furnace was on its last legs, and we really needed to bring in some new revenue. So I talked to a bunch of Legion commanders and leadership around the state, and one of them said, hey, a great thing to do is collect bottles and cans. You wouldn't think it amounts to much, but it makes a big difference. So I bought an old utility trailer, and we put signage on it, collecting bottles and cans, and you'll see it there on Route 1 across from Martin's.
I see it. Yep, I see it a lot.
That's my trailer. Don't touch it. But the community has been so incredibly generous, and that has taken the budget and improved it dramatically. We've been able to shore up the finances. But through that work, one of the things that I realized in our post is that so many of the members are Vietnam veterans, and you want to talk about a group of people who are overlooked and unthanked for their service. Yep. And this is it's 2018, 50 years ago, the anniversary of the highest level of troop involvement in Vietnam. So many of these young men and women came back, and there were no Bangor troop greeters back then, and it was a hard time. And so being able to work with them, to recognize them, to value and appreciate Vietnam veterans has become very much a passion of mine.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's appreciated.
Yeah, an honor to do that. And I've been putting together these Vietnam veterans recognition events all over the state with the Maine Bureau of Veteran Services, and to be able to present a certificate and a commemorative coin and a pin to a Vietnam veteran who never received anything like that at the time is really powerful.
Oh, boy.
There's one grizzled old Army vet who's a friend of mine named Carl, and he was shaking before I had to kind of put my arm around him and bring him in. But I think it was just so meaningful to be able to do that, and really, really rewarding.
That's so nice. You also work with addiction recovery groups in Biddeford.
Yeah, I've made that a real center point of my work, and I came to it because I joined the Criminal Justice Committee, Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee in the Maine legislature, which is the oversight committee for all of our police and jails and fire services. And one of the first things that you do when you join that committee is tour all of Maine's county jails. And in working with a lot of the sheriffs, including Sheriff Bill King of York County, one of the things that we talked about was so much of the problem that we have with people returning to jail is that they don't have work. So at the time that they leave, it's difficult to find a job. You're starting cold. You have no phone, no car, nothing like that. No one to help you towards employment.
Sure.
As a manufacturer, company owner and founder, and somebody who has a lot of connections in the world of employment, Bill King and I said, look, let's put together a recovery workforce job fair where we can get people in recovery paired up with employers who are interested in working with these high potential people. And they're not just looking for cookie cutter resumes, they see the potential for people in recovery, and we know it's a good way to help them get back on their feet. So we've done 2 of these now. They've been a big success.
Was one just recently?
Yes, we just held one in Portland last week. Yep, and putting more together around the state, and just beginning the work on the next one now. And it's very rewarding, and it's not the stereotype like you would think. To give you an idea, some of the employers there are H&R Block and Home Depot and people like that. And as a matter of fact, I worked with a guy at the job fair last week, kind of put my arm around him. I said, listen, what have you done? What is your work? What do you enjoy? He said, well, I've worked as an iron worker. I'm 2 years in sobriety now. I'm really ready to get back on my feet, and I have a forklift certification, OSHA-rated forklift certification.
That's good.
I said, that's good. So we went right over to Home Depot, and I know Mike had an interview today, and I'm going to be following up with him. I talked to the people at Home Depot and said, look, this is a guy with a lot of potential, and let's see if we can't make something work. And they need someone. They're hiring for lumber restocking on the overnights, and it sounded like it'd be a fit for him. So I'm hoping that match there was made, and I know a lot more of those kinds of matches can be made.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now, when you're in amongst the group of addicts, are they telling you, for instance, the opioid situation, are they telling you what they need in a program?
Yeah, they are. You know, I love saying this, which is the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is community. So feeling that you matter, that you're part of something bigger, feeling that what you do is important and that you're a contributor is what turns it around and makes people feel valued. And so many people who struggle with the brain disease of substance use disorder have felt unvalued and not part of a community along the way. So having a good job is really a key part of that. And knowing that you're part of a team that pulls together to get things done is really a key part of that.
Well, I've been talking with some myself. I think in regards to programs, though, I don't think we give them enough. Like, you know, if you're in AA, a 30-day program usually will help you get a good going. But if you're talking about a heroin addict, I don't think a 30-day program is going to cut it. From what I'm being told, they are hoping for something where they can go for 6 months and then have 6 months of some kind of connection, being accountable, getting back into the community. You know what I mean? Because it's longer to recoup from heroin, if at all, than it is from alcohol. Would you agree, or am I off the wall?
I think whatever the substance use disorder is, and it can be a lot of different things, I think that recovery is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer. And I've been honored to be able to work with many people in their recovery journey, and I do think that it does take that community. And sometimes people will say, you know, you need to change your people, places, and things as well in order to just sort of a reset. But I think from there it really is. I mean, to your point, yeah, it's a lifelong journey, and helping people along that way is a real passion of mine. Contributing in every way that I can towards helping people get back on their feet. And purely from a fiscally conservative point of view, I mean, let's just look at it that way. If you're, the recidivism rate, the return to custody, returning to jail rate is quite high. And if we don't help people get back on their feet, it's expensive to keep people in jail. So this is about $50,000 a year to keep people in jail. So I think investments that we make to help people become contributing, tax-paying members of society are fiscally strategic, but I'm looking at it almost more emotionally, and knowing how rewarding it is to help put our communities back together. My wife works in the kindergarten at JFK Kindergarten here in the Biddeford Public Schools. Yes, she does.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, in fact, she's just been honored with a statewide leadership award for her work with the Main Street Biddeford organization, the Heart of Biddeford. Yeah, so
wonderful.
I'm really proud of her. Yeah. She's Really, really great, all the work that she's done with that. But I have to say that she tells me, we see this in our schools, you know, and this is by no means just Biddeford, this is statewide and I think nationwide, that we do have a generation, you know, where you do see a lot of grandparents bringing the kids into kindergarten, and it's tough to see. So this is a national public health crisis that we need to take on.
Is this going to be one of your top 3 issues when you get down to Washington?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Together with sensible health care reform too. I mean, I think what I think a lot of the problem is that we focus on where we disagree rather than where we agree, right? And in healthcare, there are lots of examples like expanding the use and availability of health savings accounts, where there's a lot of agreement and things that we can do and should do, and that's my approach overall. You know, I'll say it again. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect to get a different result. I mean, we have to end the partisanship in Washington, and we can't keep sending partisans to Congress if we want to change that. And so that's the core of the way I approach everything that I've been able to do in the Maine legislature so far, which I'm proud of, and then on to Washington, D.C.
Now see, we can't keep sending the same people to Washington and expect a different result, people. We've got to vote differently.
Vote for an independent.
Right there. Now let's talk about a couple of endorsements you have. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has endorsed you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Huge, Debbie. I mean, I think this is a real lightning bolt in this race. The only independent in the entire country that they endorsed, and I just had a great week with them talking about why they endorsed me. This is the largest jobs and economy organization, not just in the country, but in the world.
Right.
So they represent more than 3 million member businesses across the country, and they got into this race because they know that a vote for Marty is a vote for jobs. And I'm focused on that all the time, and that's why I have their support, and it's a big deal, and it's really gratifying.
It is a big deal. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
The Maine Sportsmen's Coalition, the Maine Veterans Coalition, various Democrat and Republican leaders across the state are endorsing you.
Yeah, thank you. That I'm really humbled. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's been really rewarding to be able to meet with everybody and just hear their take and get their input. You know, everybody from John Kerry of the Kerryman Pub, which just closed.
It did just close, yes.
I was able to be there with John there on the last day and go around meeting people. And of course, John has been a prominent Democratic leader for many, many years. And you know, on the other side, Amy Volk, Assistant Leader of the Maine Senate. So I think as we, you know, I think what they see in common is that it's time for a change in the way that we do things, and that people that can come to the middle, come to the table, and just fix things rather than fight with each other. That's what we need right now. And to have their support and that of many other prominent Maine political leaders is really, really gratifying.
It's definitely gratifying.
Thank you.
Now, you are a proponent of the Medicaid expansion, correct?
I am. Yeah. And I'll come back to the opioid crisis on this. I think one of the keys, if you're leaving jail and getting back on your feet, we were chatting, you know, before the show about health care and its tie to recovery, and I think there's a thread there that we need to keep. So if you are getting that job and getting back on your feet, you need access to health care. It's really, really critical. You need to be able to stay in those treatment programs, and you need to be able to stay in them for an extended period of time. So I think this is a federal problem, and we need federal support to take it on, and that's why I'm supportive.
Well, Marty Grohman, he's the candidate for U.S. House of Representatives for District 1. He is running against Shelley Pingree and Mark Holbrook. He's the independent. Put your little check mark next to his name.
Yeah, first on the ballot.
How can people contact you? Oh, your website, martygrohman.com. Donate, offer some help, put a sign in your yard, but spread the word.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, Debbie. Yeah, Marty Grohman for Congress on Facebook, and or just give me feedback. You know, tell me what's on your mind, what's concerning you. my style is very approachable. I want to hear from people, and I do hear from people all the time, and that's what's made me successful as a legislator. You'll see me all over town. I'm out and about and all over the district, just meeting people, putting thousands of miles on my truck, and just hearing directly from people. I really, really value that. So whether it's online or call me at my house or whatever, I always really welcome that.
Well, you said you want input. I'm going to give you my little input right here. Now, Marty, I love it when you guys go down to Washington, but it seems like you forget that you're in charge of our wallet. I hope that doesn't happen with you if you get down there. Our money is so valuable. There's not an infinite supply of money in our wallets, as you well know, as a person, as a business owner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We all have our things that we must take care of, and yes, we want to be able to take care of others when we're able, but it seems like it's getting to a point where the people are being asked to really give almost more than they can in some cases on some things that are nice but might not be mandatory. So those are my words to you. I would just like you to remember that. As little Debbie Davis in Biddeford, Maine, I'm always going to be concerned about our wallets.
I completely agree, Debbie. Look, I mean, as a business owner like yourself, you know that I'm running a manufacturing company. I'm always looking for efficiency, always looking for savings, always looking for where we can do better. And I don't think we're doing enough of that in government. And I do think that will take moving the best ideas ahead wherever they come from, and not worrying about whether it is a Democratic idea or a Republican idea, just the best idea. And as an independent, I'm positioned to do that, and I will keep that feedback front and center.
Thank you. All right, everybody, candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, District 1, Marty Grohman. Good luck to you, Marty.
Thank you so much, Debbie. It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. And we will see you next time on Mind Your Own Business TV.